Hey guys, today's video is going to be a relatively quick one. And I just want to go over probably the most common movement pattern that we see the biggest problem in executing properly, and therefore the most kind of tweaks and overuse patterns that we see coming out of, okay? And that is our hip hinge, or the deadlift, if you want to call it that. And the reason is that there are just many ways that we can get into a similar position that we're trying to achieve with that hip hinge, and we're doing it with the improper musculature and improper firing pattern. Okay, and because of that, a lot of times we'll have some back pain, low kind of hip pain, hamstring pull, stuff like that happening from overtraining that pattern improperly. Okay, so let's just go right through that. The first thing I like to do with all of our athletes is kind of explain what we call the 1, 2, 3 kind of stepwise of the hip hinge. And really what I'm trying to do is we're trying to fire 3 important regions before we actually go into the hinge itself. Okay. Region number 1 is our core. If you watch some previous videos, you'll know that. So step number 1 is kind of getting that hip and rib cage connection. Can I get that locked in? Step number 2, when we're going into our hinge, is can we spin our feet in the floor or screw our feet in the floor? And what that does, that gets the external rotation fibers of the glutes because we want our glutes to kick on. Okay, so you can imagine if the floor was slippery, you would see my feet spinning out to the side. So step 1 would be core first. Step 2, can I screw my feet in the ground? And step 3 would be, can I squeeze the juice out of the orange? Okay, what I mean by that is if I had an orange underneath my armpit, could I squeeze all the juice out of that orange? And what does that do? That fires our lat complex. So I've got my core on, my glutes on, and my lats on. All the tension is going to go to those regions, and that's where we want the tension versus our low back. Okay, so if we look at that, we'll take a kettlebell for a second here. We'll do our kettlebell deadlift. Okay, so 1, 2, can I screw my feet in the ground? Number 3, can I squeeze the juice out of the orange? And then can I sit back into that position, make sure all those are locked in, and then I go for that deadlift. Yeah, so I'm getting the tension where I want it, core, glutes, lats, before I even go through that pattern. Okay. The second most common flaw is when we're going into this action, which should be kind of a forward and backwards action of the hip. We sit up and down, but we also then kind of think about, can I get up out of the pattern? Okay, so from a sideways view, if I'm going down into it, so again, 1, 2, 3, I got all those things, I'm sitting back. Okay, if I go to come up here and I just think about kind of standing tall, I come up out of that, a lot of times what we're doing is we're driving with the back or the erectors of the back in order to get out of the position. We also call it kind of the swoop. Okay, so if I'm there, I'm back, I'm up, I'm kind of driving through that back to stand up out of position. What I like to explain with a lot of our athletes is think about arrows on your hips, and your hips drive the motion. So as I go into it, arrows go backwards. That allows me to load properly. So I'm loading hamstrings, glutes, all that. And then when I come up out of that, I'm thinking about pushing my hips forward. And that's the only reason I come up out of that position is because my hips are pushing forward versus my chest coming up. Okay. So again, core is on, glutes are on, lats are on, 1, 2, 3. I'm pushing my hips back, arrows go back, arrows go forward. That keeps me connected versus, again, just thinking about, I just want to kind of step up and get my chest up out of position. Okay, so those 2 thoughts, the 1, 2, 3 process, and then the thought of hips back, hips forward, and again, that hip forward is what actually drives me to stand up. That's really going to allow you to get the tension where we want it, get the muscle mass working that we want to work, and not overuse other muscle mass pieces or muscle regions that we don't want to have work. Again, a lot of times that low back. Okay, so give that a try the next time you're going for your hip hinge or your deadlift, and that allows you to make sure that you're moving well, you're training hard, and you're continuing to live athletic.